everyone, this is Crystal, and today I'm back with another 12 by 12 layout for scrapbook.com using their brand new cut files. I've put a picture of the cut file that I'll be using today up on your screen so you can see, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. So of course it's a December cut file. You may think immediately Christmas or holidays, but I wanted to do something a bit different. So I have pulled out the This Is Family collection from Jen Hadfield. I recently purchased just a few bits and pieces from this collection. I didn't want to purchase the entire thing. I didn't think I would have the time to use it, and I'm trying to not build up my stash too much. So I just have a few papers, the 6x8 paper pad, and then some stickers. So I bought the sticker sheets. There's 6 sheets of stickers here, and then I also bought the 6x12 sticker sheet as well. So, of course, this is not holiday themed at all. It's not even winter themed. But when I think of December, I think of a couple things. First of all, my birthday is in December, so I think of that. And then I also think of baking, because it's pretty much the only time of year that I do baking at all. I am a celiac. I have a gluten intolerance, so I don't do a lot of baking, but I make some time in December to play around with some new recipes and do some fun gluten-free baking. So that's what I thought of when I saw this cut file, and I thought this collection would be perfect for either one of those. So there is this sheet here that is all about baking. And it's in these fun fall colors, but it also can go very wintry. So I think this would be perfect with these light blues and browns and kind of pink and this kind of, it's not really red, it's not really orange, it's kind of a corally color. I thought that would work really well for a December layout using that cut file, documenting my December baking. But I think I also could go birthday. So there's this paper that is clearly, it's called Celebration. It's clearly celebratory in theme. I thought I could use this and some of the other elements in the kit, and I could document my birthday from last year. So I have a couple options to choose from when it comes to using a non-holiday or non-winter themed collection for a December page. So I haven't quite decided which way I'm gonna go. Maybe I will try both of them, we'll see. So I'm gonna go away, find some photos, and then of course use one of these papers to cut out the title as well. Okay, so I've chosen a title from one of the 3 options in the cut file bundle, and I've cut that from that paper you can see there on the top of the pile. That's called Road Trip. The back side, the B side, is just a dark green stripe, so that's what I've used for my title. And then I'm going to back it with this sheet from the 6x8 paper pad. It's just a light peachy corally plaid. So I've grabbed my fine line bottle. This is a bottle that comes empty, and you can add whatever glue you want to it. I've added some Scotch tacky adhesive to the inside, and I'm just adding a thin line of adhesive all around the edge of the cut file. I've done that now, and I can just place it down on this 6x8 paper and press it down to make sure it all adheres well. And then I've saved all the inside pieces so that I can go back and add the insides of these letters, like the D's and E's and B. So I just place the negative inside the little spot, and then I can add the little interior pieces exactly where it needs to be. That helps make sure I get it all lined up. Once I glue those down, I'm just going to fussy cut around this entire title just with fine point scissors. It does come with a file so that you can cut out the negative part so that you don't have to do this fussy cutting, but I wasn't thinking ahead when I made this, and I was thinking I might want to do each letter individually, so I didn't cut out that extra cut file, but you certainly could if you decide to back it all with one paper like I did. So I'm not going to make you watch me fussy cut around all of this, but it's pretty easy to do. You don't have to be too careful because of course you're never going to see the back side. So there, that is all done. And I can just clear away the scraps and then start working on my page. So I have another sheet from the 6x8 pad that was a cut apart sheet. It has these 2 recipe cards on it. I thought that would be perfect to back my photo with. So I'm gonna play around with that and see how I can make that work behind my photo. You may have seen I had printed this photo twice, once in color and once in black and white. I wasn't sure which one would work better with this spread, but once I saw the colored photo, it was way too too warm toned for this page. So I ended up going with the black and white photo instead, and I'm glad I did. I like it much better. So my title is actually going to be December is for Baking. So I pulled out those gold puffy alphas. I can't quite remember what collection they were from, but I'll be sure to link everything that I'm using on this page down below in the description. So I'm going to use those for the word baking, and then I'm going to pull out some smaller alpha letters or alpha stickers here in a minute to finish up the title. But right now I'm just looking through all of the stickers to find any that might work with this page, and the ones that are cardstock I've just put on my Thickers alignment tool. I'm using that to kind of figure out where I want my title to go. So since it's sitting there, I can just kind of add those stickers there, and then I can place them down on my page once I decide where they're going to go. For the clear stickers, for the little sticker book stickers, I've just pulled those out and have them right next to me, and I will add those to my clusters here in a bit. But first I'm going to do some fussy cutting. So I have this paper, it's called Baking Day, I think, and I'm just going to fussy cut lots of little elements. It's full of these adorable little icons that are all have to do with baking, so perfect for this page. And I'm just going to fussy cut out a bunch of them. So right now I'm just kind of loosely cutting them out, and then I'm going to go back and make sure that they're all cut. But I don't make you watch that process because it took me a little while to fussy cut all these tiny little icons, and it was pretty boring to watch. So I've done that now, and I'm also going to cut out a couple phrases from this sheet, and I don't remember. I think it's Bits and Pieces maybe is the title of it, but I just want a couple phrases or just words that say hooray. So I've cut out two options that I can use on this page. I don't end up using both. I'll just choose one of them once I get to that point. But before I start creating the clusters, I need to back my photo. So I need to add some mats behind my photo so that it stands out on the page. So I have that recipe card. I've also pulled out the scrap of plaid paper that I had left from the title, and then I thought it needed some green as well to kind of tie in that title that I cut. So I have a couple options. There was a darker green paper in the 6x8 card, and then there's the back side of that Bits and Pieces paper that also has a green and blue pattern on it. I'm going to end up going with that one actually, but first I'm just going to add a really thin border of white around my photo. That's just to make it stand out from all the layers that I'm going to add around it. Just makes the photo stand out a bit more. So there is that, the back side of the Bits and Pieces paper, and I'm going to add a thin border of that and just trim that out with my trimmer. And then I'll add the recipe card to the top of it and just trim off. It's because it's 4x6, it's way too wide for my photo. So I'm just going to trim off the right side of it so that it works as a mat, and you'll still be able to see the word recipe, and you'll still be able to see some of the icons. So I think it's still pretty obvious that it was a recipe card. You still get the point of it without it taking up the entire page. So I'm also going to add another layer of that pink color. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to use the plaid paper or the B side of the Baking Day paper, which has those adorable little hearts all over it, and that's going to be what I end up going with, but I do play around with the two for a little bit to decide which one I wanted to use. But I like this one because it has that darker red color, or that orangey red color in it, and there's quite a bit of that in the elements that I'm adding into the embellishment clusters, so I felt like this tied in those bits a bit better. So I'm just trimming it down. It doesn't cover the entire photo, so it's just going to sit at the bottom of the photo and kind of overlap with that recipe card paper. So you'll just see a little bit of it peeking out, and I did struggle a bit because I did it all backwards, and I adhered the bottom layer first and then tried to stick the middle layer in between. That's obviously not ideal, but I end up getting it in place eventually, and then I can trim it down and add it to the page. So I start to kind of play around with the layers and the embellishment clusters, and I realize it's looking a little blank to me, a little bare. So I decide to go away and add some mixed media. So here in a second, you're going to see I've pushed all of the embellishments and elements on the page off to the side, and I've pulled out some watercolors. So these are Vicki Boutin watercolors, and I've shown you there that I've just mixed a few of the colors to create this minty green color that matches some of the papers in this collection. So I had to play around with it quite a bit to get the right color. So I didn't make you watch that, but I did show you which watercolors I used to get this this tone. And I haven't prepared the paper at all. So this is just white textured cardstock from American Crafts. I have not added any gesso at all. So I'm trying not to add too much water. I just want a little patch of color behind my layers. So if I add too much water, then the paper will definitely warp, and it does warp just a tiny bit, but not too much, because I really did try to keep the water to a minimum. So I'm just adding a little bit of that paint mixture to a piece of packaging, spraying a little bit of water so that it's not quite as thick, and then using the packaging technique to add it to the page. And then once I get a big enough area of color, I can just come in with my paintbrush and add a few splatters. And then I can set that aside to dry, and through the magic of YouTube, that's all done, and I can start building up my layers. So I've pulled my photo and title back onto the page to try and get the spacing right, and then I need to add or adhere my photo down before I do any of the layering so that nothing moves around and I don't have to keep moving things back and forth all the time. So that is now adhered to my page, and I can start adding my title. I decided I wanted to add some foam behind my title to make it pop off the page just a bit more, and that way I can tuck the embellishment clusters behind the title, and it just adds some dimension and some interest to the page. So I'm using these foam dots from American Crafts. These are Sticky Thumb foam dots, and I've added quite a few just because there is a little bit of warping from adding that mixed media to the page. So the more adhesive I add, the flatter this is going to lay on the page, and there won't be gaps in between. If I had used fewer foam dots, there would be some gaps, and the page would have a chance to kind of bend or fold up in those gaps. So this helps just kind of keep it flat. Okay, so with that in place, I can finish out my title and add these gold thickers. These are puffy thickers, and I'm just kind of tucking them underneath the title because I had raised up that title on foam. It gave me some room to tuck that other half of the title underneath it, but I was clearly not getting it anywhere near straight, so I went and grabbed my T-square ruler just to make sure that that title is sitting straight on the page. It would be pretty obvious if it was wonky. So I'm not usually too much of a stickler for getting things straight, but this one was just a little bit too obviously not. Okay, so this is the alpha that I'm going to use to finish out my title. It's from the Crate Paper Journal Studio sticker book, and I chose it because this color of peachy pink matches perfectly, and I needed a small alpha just for the is for part of my title. So I'm just using a tweezers to get those lined up next to the word baking, and then that's going to be my title all done. So with that in place, I can start building all of my embellishment clusters once again. So I'm adding a mixture of the fussy cut elements from that baking day paper and also some houses from one of the other papers in the collection, some of the cardstock stickers, and then the sticker book stickers are clear stickers. So I'm trying to make sure that the clear stickers are towards the back, of course, because otherwise you won't be able to see what they are. They aren't going to be able to layer up over the top of the other kind of stickers. So I'm just kind of placing things down where I think they might go and then adding the clear stickers behind them just to create some interest. So because all of these elements are flat, I'm adding some foam dots behind a few of them and popping them up to create some additional dimension. And the three different kinds of stickers add some texture to the page as well, so it makes it a bit more interesting than if I had just used the fussy cut elements from that one paper. And yeah, just making sure that there's a good balance of color throughout the clusters, making sure that not any one element is repeated more than once in each cluster, making sure everything just feels balanced, and also filling up all of the space and that there's not any white space in those clusters. So there it is, all adhered. I played around with it for quite a while, so I didn't make you watch that whole process, but it's pretty much done now. I'm just going to add my little fussy cut hooray. I'm going to end up adding it right there above that bottom cluster. And then just fill in with a few more of the stickers from the clear sticker sheet. Just adding, there are some little round cookies on this clear sticker sheet, and I'm just kind of spreading those around. They kind of work like enamel dots just to kind of finish out these clusters. And then that's pretty much going to be it. I do decide that it looks a little bit blank at the top and bottom, so I'm gonna just tear away a couple bits of the background and add a strip of this heart paper behind both of those areas at the top and bottom, which you'll see me do here in just a second. And then I'm gonna add a couple staples just to keep that in place. Those are gold staples in my American Crafts gold stapler. And then I'm just going to add my journaling, and then that's going to be it for this spread. So while I do that, I will tell you that I did decide to make a second layout using this cut file that is birthday themed, so be sure to look for that later this week. And if you are curious about any of the products that I've used or about the cut files, all of the things that I've used are linked down below, so just be sure to go check out those links in the description box. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to tell you. So thank you so much for watching. I'll let you finish up watching this process, and there are also some close-up photos coming up towards the end. I hope you've enjoyed seeing my process and hopefully got some inspiration, and I will see you all back here soon.